Good morning, members of council and staff. I'll call this committee of the whole meeting for Wednesday, April 9th to order. Mr. Clerk, can you do a roll call, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Electronic roll call is starting now.
Okay, we have quorum. Members of council, I have 4 quick announcements. Today, as you came into the building, you would notice that the flags are at half-mast. Today is Vimy Ridge Day. It is an annual observance on April 9th to remember the Canadians who victoriously fought in the Battle of Vimy Ridge in northern France during the First World War. The day is also known as National Day of Remembrance of the Battle of Vimy Ridge. Also, on April 9th, the Canadian Armed Forces are conducting a large-scale training exercise in Northumberland County from April 25th to the 27th. They have been planning this for almost a year. There'll be 800 troops, military vehicles, and support staff will be involved. The public may notice an increased military presence on regional roads and highways during this time as personnel and equipment travel to and from the exercise. Rest assured, there is no cause for concern. We wish the Canadian Armed Forces success with their training exercise. Also, today is the International Day of Pink. It is set up as an international day against bullying, discrimination, homophobia, transphobia, and in cities and towns across the world. On this day, everyone is invited to celebrate diversity by wearing a pink shirt and by organizing their activities in workplaces and schools and communities in support of the day. And finally, members of council, if you haven't heard, we had 3 staff members awarded the King Charles III Coronation Medal. Allison Hector Alexander, our Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Becky Wilkins, Acting Manager, FIMS Application, Durham Region, and Carly Church, Human Trafficking Crisis Intervention Counselor with Victim Services in Durham Region. Congratulations. Oh, and sorry, the CAO just said Kelly McDermott in legal? And Jocelyn Siciliano, but we've already announced Jocelyn, but again, congratulations. That is pretty amazing. Members of council, there are no statutory public meetings. Councillor Chapman?
Yeah, if you give me a little latitude, I just wanted to make an announcement in the same vein as Vimy in that on next Saturday, not this Saturday, on the 19th of April, the Canadian Tank Museum, the University of Toronto is unveiling an exhibit for women in defense from World War II. It's sort of an add-on to what the Bomb Girls were years ago, if you remember that. And it's at 5 o'clock is when the unveiling is at the Canadian Tank Museum on the south side of the Oshawa Executive Airport. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Again, no statutory public meetings. We do have a number of present.
Declarations.
Oh, sorry, we'll go to declarations. Ms. Clerk? We see none. Presentations. First presentation is Tara Sapanik. I hope I got that right. Climate Change and Health Specialist with the Health Department.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm the Climate Change and Health Specialist in the Durham Region Health Department and co-author of our series on climate change and health in Durham Region. And today I'm sharing our second vulnerability assessment in the series focused on solar ultraviolet radiation, also known as UV radiation. Next slide, please. So this morning, we'll review the purpose and mandate of the report series and then share key highlights of the solar UV report, including the assessment framework, main findings, needs, as well as local strengths related to solar UV resilience, and then lastly, next steps. Next slide, please. So why are we completing this report series? As you know, Durham Region Health Department is mandated to conduct health vulnerability assessments under the Ontario Public Health Standards, which includes health impacts related to climate change. Secondly, we know that health impacts from climate change are happening already, and we know that healthcare systems will be burdened by a range of climate-driven emergencies. We also know that some people face greater risks than others and need to be prioritized. Lastly, we know from a public health survey that most Durham Region residents do not believe they will be harmed by climate change in their lifetime. So there's a real genuine need to assess and communicate the health risks to increase the capacity of community members to protect themselves, their homes, and their communities. Next slide, please. So the report series encompasses a background primer, which was released last summer and provides key information on 6 main climate hazards expected to impact the health of Durham residents. These 6 hazards form the basis of our 6 vulnerability assessments seen here. So the extreme heat report was released last fall, and the solar UVR report was released in February. And then the remaining 4 reports to be completed this year cover vector-borne disease, air quality, extreme weather, and food and water impacts. Next slide, please. So what are the objectives of this report? There are 4. First, to improve understanding of how solar UV radiation impacts health. Second, assess and report on available data and evidence to understand local health impacts, both now and in the future. Third, prioritize health equity by identifying and prioritizing people and communities most at risk of harm. And lastly, establish a baseline for analysis for future assessments. Next slide, please. So vulnerability to solar UV depends on 3 factors, and many of you may already be very familiar with this. So these are exposure, sensitivity, and adaptive capacity. So for example, someone who works outdoors, such as an agricultural worker, would have increased exposure vulnerability. Sensitivity is vulnerability due to factors such as age, genetics, or health status. So for example, infants and children have skin that's more sensitive to sunburns with a higher risk of skin damage compared to the general population. And then the final vulnerability factor is adaptive capacity. So this is a person's ability to protect themselves from harmful UV. So a person who lacks housing or can't afford sunscreen faces barriers to protecting themselves. So those who experience all 3 factors of UVR vulnerability are at the greatest risk of negative health outcomes and should be prioritized. So we want to focus on priority populations that we have listed on the left here, especially those experiencing multiple vulnerabilities. So the center of this figure here. Next slide, please. So what do we know about solar UV exposure in Durham Region? No surprise, solar UV radiation levels are highest from April to September from the hours of 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. And approximately 60% of the day's total carcinogenic radiation is received before 2 p.m. Next slide, please. So how does climate change factor in? In general, climate change is expected to increase solar UVR levels in the environment because increased greenhouse gas concentrations are expected to reduce overall protective cloud cover. Plus, Durham Region is expected to experience warmer and longer summer seasons due to climate change, and warmer days increase outdoor activity. So this combined with an overall low uptake of sun-safe behaviors among Durham residents are expected to increase harmful solar UVR exposure. Next slide, please. So why does this matter? What are the health impacts of solar UVR exposure? Well, as I'm sure you know, it's the main cause of sunburns, and childhood sunburns increase the risk of melanoma skin cancer later in life. And although the incidence rate has decreased in recent years, almost 1/4 of Durham Region adults report annual sunburns, which is a major risk factor for skin cancer, including melanoma. Exposure to UVR can cause premature aging of the eyes and development of cataracts, and repeated exposure can also lead to damage or cancers in and around the eyes. UVR exposure is the leading cause of skin cancer, including malignant melanomas, which has the highest mortality rate of all skin cancers. Approximately 2,540 cases per year in Ontario are attributed to solar UVR exposure, making it the leading cause of environmentally acquired cancer in the province. And then finally, local incidence of skin cancer is expected to increase due to increased UVR exposure associated with these warmer temperatures from climate change. So for example, it's estimated that a 2 degrees Celsius increase in air temperature is associated with a 10% annual increase in skin cancer rates. Next slide, please. So exposure risk can be reduced through individual and neighborhood level protections. However, some residents experience greater risk of solar UVR exposure than others due to unequal access to protections, including outdoor shade where they live, work, and play. So local shade is important because many residents cannot avoid being outdoors during peak UV hours. And there's evidence that shade provides more reliable UVR protection than sunscreen. So the provision of built and natural shade, especially in high use areas, can help reduce UVR exposure. However, neighborhood disparities in local tree canopy cover indicate that some residents may have a decreased capacity to avoid UVR compared to others. But further analysis is needed to better understand shade distribution and its impact on health equity. Next slide, please. So provincial policies to reduce solar UVR are limited. The Occupational Health and Safety Act in Ontario requires employers to take reasonable measures to protect workers from workplace standards, and this includes UV radiation. At the municipal level, although municipalities may include shade policies or guidelines in their planning policy documents, Ontario's provincial policy statements do not provide specific direction on solar UVR protection or shade provision. And it's also worth noting that although recommendations exist to protect school-age children from harmful UVR, there's no specific provincial legislation on protections in childcare, school, or recreational facilities. So best practices point to the need for both personal sun protection along with built environment protection, such as local shade provision. And we'll get into specifics in the next slide. Next slide, please. So what actions can support sun protection? For starters, we need to amplify health promotion to all communities about UV radiation health risks and actions to reduce them. And we also need targeted messaging to protect those most sensitive to harm from sun exposure. There are also other important actions that can improve sun protection. To begin with, we need a better understanding of sun exposure patterns among youth. In Durham Region, sunburns are more common among children and young adults than any other age group, and a better understanding of exposure settings as well as barriers to sun protection are needed to design more relevant health communications, program, and shade provisions that reduce sunburns among young people and future risk of skin cancer and eye damage. Related to this, we need to prioritize shade in outdoor settings used by children and youth. And this leads to the third action, which are assessments of shade distribution and access. There's evidence that shade provision has a positive effect on shade-seeking behaviors. In other words, if you provide shade, it will be used. Assessment of shade provision is especially important in high exposure areas such as playing fields, transit stops, and active transportation routes, where people generally remain outdoors for extended periods when UV exposure is high. Local and provincial data are limited, but emerging evidence suggests inadequate shade and tree canopy is more common in lower income neighborhoods. So assessing shade distribution is essential to addressing health inequities. And finally, local tree canopy cover baselines and targets with a focus on equitable access would be beneficial. The Durham Regional Official Plan calls for collaboration with area municipalities, conservation authorities, Indigenous communities, and the broader community to increase regional tree canopy cover, including identifying a regional baseline and targets. Next slide, please. So now for the good news. The good news is that harmful sun exposure is very preventable, and Durham Region provides a range of health protection and promotion related to sun safety. The Health Department Sun Safety webpage includes information for work settings and school and childcare facilities. Sun safety is also included in the online parenting modules available to new parents in Durham Region. However, as we mentioned, most Durham Region residents report they do not take protective measures, emphasizing the need to continue health promotion with an emphasis in forming sun-safe habits in early life. Regional Street Outreach also distributes sunscreen and summer clothing to people experiencing homelessness, and Social Services notes that accessing welcoming indoor spaces remains a significant challenge for this population. Durham Region also has strategic green infrastructure and tree planting programs and coordinates with local area municipalities to provide subsidized tree planting to residents. So, for example, between 2020 and 2022, approximately 770 trees have been planted, and these trees increase shade provision and also many health co-benefits such as heat and flood mitigation. So there are many wins. Finally, some of the province's most progressive shade policies can be found in Durham Region. For example, the town of Ajax has a goal to create protection against UV radiation. Whitby's Climate Emergency Response Plan includes plans for a minimum shade standard for public spaces. And the City of Pickering has developed an integrated sustainable design standard, which includes shade and tree protection requirements. So these are just a few examples that support this idea of best practices of combining personal protection with a protective built environment. Next slide, please. So this assessment has been posted on our webpage and it has been shared with municipal and community partners. And we hope it will be used by decision makers to better understand the risks of solar UV and to promote sun protection in early childhood. Engagement with community partners will be an essential next step for addressing barriers to sun protection. And we hope that through this engagement, service agencies will continue to explore opportunities for promoting sun safety for children and other sensitive populations. Next slide, please. So to summarize the report in 4 key messages, Durham Region should be prepared for an increase in solar UVR exposure as climate change intensifies. Sun safety starting in infancy can prevent serious health impacts later in life. Equitable shade provision, especially in child settings, active transportation routes, and transit stops can improve adaptive capacity. And finally, health impacts can be severe but are often preventable. Next slide, please. And as a wrap up, finally, the Health Department wanted to remind everyone that the Extreme Heat Vulnerability Assessment is also available on our webpage. As we head into heat season once again, we thought it would be helpful to include the 4 key messages from that report here as well, and hope that you're able to review the full assessment if you haven't had a chance to do so already. Next slide, please. With that, I want to say thank you very much for your time and attention this morning.
Thank you. Members of council, questions? Seeing none, thank you for the great presentation.
Thank you.
Next item is item 4.2 is Michelle Brathwaite, Chief Executive Officer, Blue Door, and Adriana Vandernoot, Director of Quality, Compliance, and Evaluation for Blue Door. Welcome and good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Adriana Vandernoot. I'm the Director of Quality, Compliance, and Evaluation at Blue Door, and with me virtually is Michael Brathwaite, our CEO. So first, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Blue Door. We are the largest emergency housing provider in York Region. We've been in operation for over 40 years. We have 6 transitional housing facilities. Our newest one that we've partnered with Durham Region on is Beaverton Heights. We have 428 emergency housing beds, and last year we housed nearly 400 individuals. We have 8 programs that we run across a continuum of housing, health, and employment in order to be able to provide the individuals that we serve with all the possibilities necessary to be successful. So we're here to talk to you today about our Housing for All Land Trust. So what is a land trust? Land trusts are an internationally proven vehicle to generate and retain affordable housing. We decided a couple of years ago that we had to do something to address the affordable housing crisis. So we spent a lot of time and research and connecting with other housing providers in order to figure out what we could do in order to solve this issue. So Blue Door, as Michael Brathwaite likes to say, we needed to take big swings. We needed to do something immediately that was innovative, that was going to provide affordable housing in perpetuity for our communities. So we decided to launch the Housing for All Land Trust last year. So how does a land trust work? It starts off by acquiring housing units. It could be land, it could be a donated building, they could be condo units, it could be a piece of property, it could be, we've talked about a post office, so different facilities that we could use that we could then either develop or renovate or offer as affordable housing. We have recently taken one of our own properties that we were using for transitional housing and have started the redevelopment of Kevin's Place. So we are developing it into a 14-unit stacked housing complex to provide affordable housing in perpetuity. The second step is partnering with other social service organizations. The goal is not for only Blue Door to house Blue Door's clients. It is to work within our communities to make sure that everybody's clients have the opportunity to access affordable housing. So for example, if we had a highly accessible unit, we might turn to community living and say, hey, we've got this really fantastic unit. Do you have any clients that could benefit from living in this facility? And the last step is building a portfolio of assets. So our goal is to make sure that we have housing units or housing facilities or individual houses to be able to accommodate everyone. So whether that's seniors, whether it's families, whether it's youth, that we have this large portfolio that we can then make sure that we can accommodate everyone. So how will it all work in perpetuity? The goal of the land trust is to continue to accumulate assets into the trust, and that we could use that equity to continue to buy more land, to develop the properties that we have, and continue to add and add and add into that land trust. Our goal with the launch of this land trust is to have 200 units in the trust in the next 10 years. The really exciting and innovative part about the land trust is it takes a lot of pressure off of the system. There's a lot of smaller nonprofit housing organizations that would like to be able to provide housing to their clients, but just don't have the capacity to either purchase housing, to develop the land that they have. And so by adding that into Blue Door's land trust, we take on a lot of that work. So we would become the asset managers, we would do the property management, we take on the risk, we've developed the policies and procedures. And so we've got it all covered. And so basically then what we have is this inventory, this portfolio of housing units that then we have available for our community to share and to continue to add into that land trust in perpetuity. And so I'm going to pass it over to Michael Braithwaite. He's on here virtually somewhere, but to wrap it up for us, if I could.
Thank you so much, Adriana. I appreciate that. Friends, I wish I could be there in person to chat with you, but it's a pleasure to be here virtually. Adriana talked about taking big swings. We're in the midst of a housing crisis. The recent Association of Municipalities report showed us that 80,000 people across Ontario were experiencing homelessness. If drastic measures are taken, 300,000 people, that number could grow to 300,000 people in the next 10 years. We need to take bigger swings. We need to take drastic measures. We need to be creative and innovative. We can't just push it all onto government, onto yourselves, onto others. Communities and nonprofits have to step up. This is Blue Door stepping up to say we can and will do more. We need to increase our housing supply. We have less affordable housing now than we did in 2015. For every new build that we have, we lose 11 to 15 to the private sector. They're just buying them up and it becomes a business. So the need is now, and we need your help to do this. The land trust is a way forward. We will continue to work to add units of housing, to develop land, to raise the funds we need through different levers we can pull to add a large supply of housing, not just for all vulnerable populations. And that includes seniors, that includes adults with developmental disabilities, that includes youth, newcomers, anyone who needs affordable housing with supports. This is a way forward. We could use the equity as we build that housing and develop land to continue to get more and more and more housing moving forward, to make sure that every Canadian, every person across Durham Region can realize the right to affordable housing with supports moving forward. And just to make that clear too, this is independent living, semi-independent living with some supports, sometimes none at all, sometimes very few. This is not emergency shelter. This is for people who simply need affordable housing. Right now, with a one-bedroom apartment reaching around $2,000 a month, people not making a living wage. There's so many, it's just not attainable. And this helps them get there. And this is a perpetuity where it remains affordable for a long, long time. So our ask to you today is really to pass a motion that directs staff to continue to work with us so we can examine, are there pieces of land throughout the region? Are there municipalities that we should be speaking to? And we're going to speak to each municipality across Durham region. Are there developers we can work with? Are there ways to speak with these developers, and as they put in their plans, to help them help you reach your affordability goals and plans around housing, to work with this land trust to make that happen? Maybe they want an extra floor, and to do that, which becomes all profit for them, maybe they add that they'll give a few of those units to this land trust, and so on. But we need your help in that. And your wonderful staff have worked with us so far. They've been incredible. We want to continue to do that, and we'd love for you to give them direction to do that, then report back to council. Thank you very much. We'll open it up to questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Adriana Michael, thank you. Adriana, I'm going to share, and this may come back to me, may haunt me. My name is Adrian. When I was very small, my sister and her girlfriend would torment me with little Adriana. So if you want to see me write down immediately, Mayor Carter, just, chant that at me at the end of the meeting. However, to get to the point of the presentation, to either of you, I am of the opinion, and I may be misguided, that there are too many service providers in the not-for-profit housing sector. So I think, Stella, we were somewhere in the 90s in Durham region. I can't see you nodding or not, but for all the not-for-profits. Anyway, it doesn't matter. With a replication of resources. So if I look at Durham Region, a nonprofit, our local housing corp, what is the difference here? Because I see the nonprofit, I chair that. I see the nonprofit doing a lot, if not all, of what you're proposing here.
I'll pass it over to Michael if you want to jump in.
Yeah. It's a great question, and we've as we work with York Region as well, we've had the same question. How's that different than Housing New York, right? And it isn't really different. I think it's in addition, and we can't put it all on the shoulders of government to do this. Our land trust would have different levers to pull as well, being a charitable organization, being able to pull in dollars, do a few things different. Also just on scale as well. Sometimes regionally you could do larger projects, but taking on smaller scattered units may not make sense just for the servicing those units. So together we're able to do that. As well, we might get approached by a developer with a development that's way too large. And then we could actually approach the region and say, this is too big for us, but might work for you. So it is not, it's side by each, not really in competition with each other to support and do that. And I think that we have waited too long. We put a lot of this on the shoulders of government to find the solutions. And I think nonprofits have the land, they have the processes in place, and they need to get further and further into development and doing this work as well. And so this is us kind of stepping up on behalf of the sector to also help support the sector.
And Michael, don't misunderstand. I don't think you have, Adriana. This is so desperately needed. So the work that you're doing, truly appreciated. And we are not succeeding in solving this problem. We're falling further and further behind. So thank you for what you're doing.
Councillor Chapman?
Thank you. So my question is, so we are the service manager for affordable housing and the co-ops and all that stuff. So when you guys have some housing that you're doing this, do you go through our service management stuff? So it's like a partnership like we have with Durham Region Nonprofit Housing and some of the other co-ops that are around the region? Is that how it would work?
Yeah, Michael, do you want to answer that one?
100%. I mean, depending on the level of service, Councillor Chapman, we would work with the region to see if there's operational funds to make that happen. I know it's hard to come, they're hard to come by, but we'd always be looking at everything we do in partnership to make sure that it's in the best interest also of the region, and to make sure we're not duplicating services either, right? Going forward, if there's a need, and make sure that we are servicing a need that's really a need.
Yeah, so I mean, having the ability to expand and acquire and the use of and rental or RGIs or all that stuff for more affordable housing is a great thing. But I see in your slide there what can municipalities do. One of them is provide funding, whereas we have a 10-year plan now that is going to provide a lot of funding for us through Durham Regional Local Housing and other places that supply that. So it's like, where do we cut the funding to send here and do that, as opposed to get what we need and to be successful in our strategy?
I think some of that, through the chair, Councillor, I think some of that is just pulling different levers, right? When we say funding, that counts as maybe it's vacant land, maybe it's a vacant building that a municipality doesn't know what to do with. Maybe it is in rent subs or different things where it's a little less cumbersome for Blue Door to do that work than the region. But it's again, yeah, not to take, why would we, if we're going to do it ourselves? I think we also will just have some different levers that the region can pull with developers as well. Developers may, and also when we look at things like housing accelerator funds or other, who knows with this new federal election, or if there's going to be some funds around helping us work through the tariffs that affect our most vulnerable, of course, more than anyone, whether there be opportunities there too for us to leverage some of those funds through municipalities or through the region to develop even more affordable housing.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Wu?
Yeah, and good morning, and through the chair, and thank you, Adriana and Michael. Just walk me through this. Now, we have a piece of property, what you're looking for, land. And the municipality has submitted, and we'll look at the Housing Accelerator Fund. We submitted back in August of 2023 and were turned down. Met with CMHC to do a debrief, get an idea of what we needed to do, and submitted again in September of 2024. So this is the Housing Accelerator Fund. March of 2025, we're turned down. So we still have this land, and if we were to turn it over to Blue Door, now how would you go about developing this property? Just sort of how you would do it, seeing that we could not get the funding because we can't do it alone.
That's a great question. Michael, do you want to?
Sure. Through you, Mr. Chair. Councillor, it's a great question. So what we found, we just did a development, or in the process of doing a development in Newmarket, and no one really listens till you have the land. Land is the starting point, and then you have to get it to shovel ready. So there's the developmental dollars to do that. So Blue Door is pretty adept at raising those funds. So for that project, we had to raise $9 million. There was only 14 units on it, so we had to pay for it in full. We couldn't take debt on that. We did that through 3 levels of government: region, the province, and the federal government. We're able to access rapid housing funds at Last Mile Fund through the province, and then through some dollars through the region that is set aside for this, right? And once you have one level, everyone always says, who's first? It is easier. So we're adept at raising the dollars to do this. Also looking at the debt. We're looking at another property, the town of Newmarket, which is 5 acres, is going to donate. These are not easy, and I don't want to make it seem like it would be overnight, but we work with partners. We have a development partner in Ellis Don Community Builders who has deep experience in doing this work too. So applying for the right funding, what is the stacking, what is the mix? Even with a larger development too, we look at the mix sometimes, and we want a healthy mix that will give us the operating dollars for years to come, so the building's always well maintained. So it might be a 70% market to 30% deeply affordable. You work through the numbers to see what you could do, but also mixed communities are great. So if we were able to get that land, I think the land is the starting leverage we use with all levels of government to get it to shovel ready to get some development dollars, get it shovel ready. Once you're shovel ready, that's really what we found is when the major dollars, the funds start coming in because they're looking for shovel ready projects.
If I could add to that too, we did receive funding from TD to operationalize the land trust. So we spent a significant amount of time working on a capital campaign strategy, knowing that this might happen, that we could get a piece of land, and then we are the ones who have to be able to raise the capital to build on that land. So we're at the tail end of that work, but we have put a lot of time in to make sure that we know which funders we can target if it's private donors, and to be able to have this really strong ask when we go out. And like Michael said, having the land is the first step. So if we have that, then it is easier for us to be able to approach some of those donors and supporters that we have and ask them to donate so that we could develop on that land.
Okay, because certainly we're not developers. The other question I had is, again, I think Blue Door's been over 40 years. And you mentioned you now own the land, you own the property, and the affordable housing is in perpetuity?
Yes.
Okay. And some of your, and again, reading up, there's this, you call it construct. So that's your skills. Is that who does the labor?
Not for the development at this time. I mean, I think that might be a big goal in the future for us. It is something we have discussed to be able to tie all of that together. So right now we're looking at having our construct participants be able to do the property maintenance and start there. And then over time, if we could build on that, that would be amazing.
Yeah. Part of skills development.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mayor Roy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And just to, looking for some more clarity and just the purpose of with Blue Door. So the relationship essentially would be one that you would be partnering with the region, looking for the properties and helping to facilitate as to who will be the funder and the builder of it, correct?
I think there's many different avenues that we could pursue with the land trust. It could just be a donation of that land, and then the municipality is done, in that process, and it's up to us to figure out the next steps. But there might be other opportunities, as Michael said, to be able to have rent supplements or that support ongoing for the development of those units. So the land trust has been interesting because there's no one clear path for every opportunity that comes up. So we actually have worked through in this, we've been really deliberate in our structuring of the land trust and launching of it. We put a lot of work into working with SHS Consulting, they're experts in this field, to have even a matrix. So if somebody comes to us and says, I have a piece of land, I have a building, that we then can go through our matrix and decide, will this work for us? What do we need to make it work? Who else do we need to connect with on it? So we're really purposeful about the projects that we take on to make sure that they are successful.
And then further through, Mr. Chair, that's with the other municipalities that you are working with, that they also have other service like they have other housing providers as well too, and you're just another person that's at the table that's ultimately giving that support.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Just to add to that as well, I think part of this is it's not really about Blue Door, it's about vulnerable populations. So let's say Backdoor Mission says we have a group that we really need affordable housing for. We've got a home. We might do a 10-year 30% of household income, kind of 30% of market rent agreement with Backdoor. They decide to go in and out of those units who are ready semi-independently to live, and they provide the support. We're just providing more those opportunities to vulnerable populations through organizations. That would be the tenant. It's just that they're up against, when they go out and try and work with private landlords, of course, which many private landlords, it's a business for them, right? So our clients just don't stack up against. We're seeing that with seniors, with newcomers, with youth, all these different vulnerable populations. So it is kind of opening that door for other organizations as well. As a former councillor mentioned as well, there's a lot of nonprofits out there. Housing is kind of that foundation to starting through a lot of the work that they do, but they're unable to access it. We hope that this would open many doors for those organizations and vulnerable populations.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll just go to the commissioner now. Good morning, Stella.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to acknowledge that Blue Door is one of our providers, and we work very closely with them. And so I'm going to turn it over to Erin Vallant, who's going to step in because she's been working with Blue Door and having discussions on the land trust. And just for clarity, there are approximately 33 nonprofit housing providers in Durham. Erin, over to you.
Okay.
Aaron, if you could please press the request to speak button in the bottom center of your screen. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you very much. Through the chair, I just wanted to add some additional information as I know there's been some questions around the service manager's role in a land trust. And I think one of the important parts of the land trust is that it really complements the work that the service manager is doing and the work that was presented in the 10-year homelessness and housing financing study. As an example, we know that there are many community housing providers across Durham that have available land, but don't have the internal capacity or ability to build on that land or to kind of think through and plan redevelopment potentially of their own site. And a land trust can be an important tool where a provider could separate part of that land and put it into the land trust that would then be made available to be redeveloped by a developer that might be interested in developing affordable housing, but the cost of land is prohibitive for them to make the margins work to offer affordable housing. Or it could be developed by another nonprofit provider that maybe is well-versed in developing. So that's one of the benefits. The other benefit is we've been seeing a trend where landlords and developers, both of condo units as well as purpose-built rental, are approaching us because they're having challenges filling those units. And while we are preparing and expanding for growth as service manager, we also know that we will likely reach a saturation point. We can't take on all of those units, although we would really like for those units to be kept affordable. And that's another benefit of having a land trust, is the landlord or a developer can work with the land trust so that those units are made available and offered at an affordable rent without needing kind of direct intervention or a direct contract with us as service manager. So there are different levers in a land trust that kind of support the work that we do and can help us advance our goals of creating and maintaining affordable housing alongside the work that we're doing. And then the last kind of benefit of it is that it requires those units to be kept affordable in perpetuity. So again, we have a lot of community housing providers who, some of which have aging boards and are looking for kind of that board succession planning. This is another opportunity for some of those nonprofit organizations so that they can ensure the legacy of that project is maintained affordable in perpetuity. I just wanted to add some of that information. Thank you very much.
Mayor Foster?
Thank you, and Aaron, thank you. Commissioner, thank you. I'm taking from the responses that that we should explore this. So an appropriate motion coming forward, and Mr.
So, Mayor Foster, I've already had a sidebar conversation with our CAO. She'll take it as direction.
Okay, perfect. Might I include, there was I believe, a presentation, or at least information sent to us from Partners for Affordable Housing, which is a slight variation on this. If we could look, I'll provide you with that information. But that is looking at private funding as well as public. And again, you've heard me say it so many times. I don't believe that public dollars are ever going to solve this problem. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That exhausts all the questions. Thank you so much for being here this morning, and we wish you a great day.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, thank you. Next is item 4.3, Ian McVeigh, Manager of Sustainability, on the Durham Greener Homes Program update and enhancements.
All right, good morning, everyone. Do I have control with this? Yes, great. you want to control it for me? All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm here to share some updates on our Durham Greener Homes program and seeking some endorsement approval for some next steps that we're hoping to implement to enhance the program moving forward. So just to start, a reminder of what we're talking about here, the Durham Greener Homes program. We launched this in April of 2022 with funding from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. It's implemented on behalf of the region through the Windfall Ecology Center, a nonprofit. The program is centered on, homeowner-centered and provides full wraparound services for homeowners to support their journey through completion of a home energy renovation project, with the key sort of service being that home energy coach that provides that unbiased guidance throughout the journey, from getting an energy assessment done, reviewing contractor quotes, aligning financing and incentives to make the cash flow work. The program has been very successful overall to date. There's a map here showing program enrollments across the region. We've had wide uptake across all 8 local area municipalities, and with more than 2,000 homes having enrolled to date and closing in on 200 that have completed, that we've been able to track, having completed a home energy renovation project. The energy coaching service in particular has been very successful. We've got great customer feedback ratings, and importantly, we've been able to demonstrate that projects completed with the support of a home energy coach result in greater impact in terms of energy and emission outcomes. We also were able to get funding through Natural Resources Canada last year, or actually 2023, to develop and launch a virtual home energy audit tool. We call it VHEAT, AI-based machine learning tool that helps homeowners with early stage investigation of potential renovations for their home. They get to see how their home compares to similar homes of a similar vintage or make. And really, it's an early good conversation starter. So we saw, we promoted this through direct water bill inserts and saw a great uptake from that last year. So not resting on our laurels and looking for continued improvement, we are proposing 2 sets of enhancements. The first being weather ready or climate resilience renovation program within the program, and the second being a pivot to our financing program to move away from the loan loss reserve credit union financing model to a municipal loan through local improvement charges. So starting with the first, weather ready services, and I need to acknowledge my colleague Shannon right here behind me, who's really led a lot of this work. And I think very pertinent given the extreme weather we've very recently experienced in the north part of Durham and across central Ontario. So the context here is extreme weather and unprecedented cost pressures on homeowners that are experiencing these extreme weather impacts. We know last year the Insurance Bureau of Canada reported $8.5 billion in insured losses. That's not the whole picture, because many of these losses are not insured or insurable, and this continues a trend of that's the most costly year in Canadian history, and continues a trend of increasing costs for homeowners. And this is really set to get worse with rising costs for building materials, exacerbated by tariffs and trade measures. So that's of course not that's a Canada-wide problem, but one that we're experiencing here in Durham, with all kinds of weather hazards from the wildfire smoke a couple of years ago, flooding, ice storms, et cetera, et cetera. So we're facing a challenging situation, but there are opportunities, and that's what we're looking for. And we've been tracking the FCM's new program, the Local Leadership for Climate Adaptation Initiative, which has over $500 million available to support municipal activities, and they're launching a new stream, the Financing Adaptation Stream, anticipated in the fall, that is really tailored to what we're talking about here, the municipal financing support to homeowners looking to do climate adaptation projects. Notably, they've indicated that they are looking to support municipal financing programs. They're not so interested in the third-party model that we've got currently under the Durham Greener Homes program, which is part of the rationale for the pivot in the financing side. So we have an opportunity to leverage municipal lending. We've got experience with this through the Durham Basement Flooding Program that's been around since 2009 that offers zero interest loans to residents who've experienced basement flooding for backflow valve, sump pump type measures. We also have been following a lot of the experience of peer municipalities across Ontario that have implemented LIC financing for their home energy renovation programs. Many successful examples that have leveraged the same SCM funding stream that we're using. So just diving into a bit more what the Weather Ready program will look like. The goal is really around awareness raising and enabling action through expert advice and incentives. Policy drivers are many, including the Durham Community Climate Adaptation Plan, our regional strategic plan, as well as local area municipal adaptation plans, including Pickering's, which I think is soon to be endorsed or adopted. So the idea here is reaching those most at risk. We heard from Tara, Tara Zupanchik earlier, what some of those communities are. We want to integrate with existing programs and messaging like emergency preparedness, conservation authority, flood messaging, et cetera. So this is really a partnered implementation program. There are 4 key pillars, and I'll address each of those briefly in the next set of slides. The first being, similar to the Durham Greener Homes program, that energy coaching service and energy assessment. We will deliver a home resilience assessment program that offers free or low cost expert advice that is both within the home but as well at the lot level to look at improvements, recommendations, both DIY as well as larger project recommendations to reduce risk. This might be you're looking at the trees and identifying which limbs might be likely to fall in an ice storm, for example, or maybe where there might be a good place to plant a tree to increase shade cover on the lot, address some of the UV risk that Tara was speaking about. So this is a resilience assessment that will layer on top of the existing energy assessments that are already part of the Durham Greener Homes program. We are looking at a targeted approach to reducing financial barriers. Part of that is the new financing program that I'll cover in a bit, but as well we're looking at developing some incentives and rebates pending successful securement of funding through FCM, that Local Leadership for Climate Adaptation Fund that we're targeting. So we are looking to include top-up rebates from local area municipalities. We know Ajax just passed a program to support mature tree maintenance, for example, to address some of that, making sure that you've got all your limbs trimmed and not ready to fall on your roof or your car, but also so that we can maintain that mature tree canopy. There's the Durham Trees program as well as the LEAF program. So there's lots existing that we're looking to layer on. And as well looking at incentives for multi-unit residential buildings, particularly lower income residential buildings where we might be able to increase shade canopy and other measures to address climate related risks. So again, a wide range of measures that we're looking at. There's a list here that will be layered on top of the existing measures under the Durham Greener Homes program. In particular, we are in conversations with some contractors in the roofing industry about a tailored incentive for resilient roofing that will be supported through the Institute for Catastrophic Loss Reduction. So again, lots of industry collaboration and leveraging funding that we're moving forward with. Broad communications and community engagement will continue to be part of this program, both the sort of one-on-one, high-touch energy coach and assessment program, but also more broad communications through the website, training workshops, and targeted communications, direct mail through water billing, booths at events, farmers markets, things like that. And I mentioned industry collaboration. I talked about the Institute for Catastrophic Loss Reduction. We're also looking at partnerships and moving forward with partnerships with others like Landscape Ontario, Fusion Landscape Professional Program to increase skills and capacity for within the building and landscape industry and help generate local employment opportunities for this kind of work. So really multifaceted program outcomes there. So next steps, we are looking for direction to negotiate with our existing partner, Windfall Ecology Center, to integrate these services into the existing program. So it's a one-stop shop. We will continue to engage with local area municipalities, CAs, conservation authorities, and industry, looking for support for us to submit a proposal to FCM once that program launches in fall 2025. We've got a fairly well-developed program design report that we'll look to tailor once we get more further details on what that funding call looks like. And then looking to launch this program in 2025, a sort of limited program with existing funding, and assuming we're successful with FCM, we can expand that further. So now just a few words on the proposed financing side of things. Again, this is in recognition of some of the challenges we've had with the existing third-party lending model with credit unions, where frankly the interest rates and the terms they've been able to offer are not competitive with other options. So we're looking to address that challenge. And as I was saying, support a full range of climate action, both mitigation and adaptation, and in particular where those lines cross. So nature-based solutions, heating and cooling, water conservation, and the like. And so in brief, really looking to build on and replace the existing basement flooding loan program, as well as the third-party lending, move towards a local improvement charge loan that's collected through the property tax collection process. So it would be a secured loan that enables low or zero interest rates. The other FCM funded programs that use LICs were able to offer 0% rate initially, and then have moved towards higher rates, some of which through partnerships with private sector capital, which we can explore down the road if this initial phase is successful. Building on your point, Adrian, about public financing isn't going to solve all of that problem, nor this problem either. So long-term amortization, 20 years is the plan, as well as designed to enable us to provide some upfront disbursements to ease that upfront cash flow barrier. So we've mapped out the administration process. I'm not going to be able to go through that in detail with the time that I have, but it's in the documentation there. But we're based on that process. We're confident that we're going to be able to manage this with limited additional staff capacities. We're looking to renegotiate our funding agreement with FCM to enable us to redirect a portion of our grant funding to support the additional staff costs that will be needed to implement this. We're looking at lending about $2 million, which is roughly this amount of the existing loan loss reserve. So, assuming an average loan size of $20,000 to $40,000, that's less than 100 loans. Let's say 40 to 100 loans at the upset. So we're looking for direction to renegotiate that agreement to convert the loan loss reserve funding into loan capital, as well as adjust the grant funding. Assuming we're successful with that, we would come back to council with a bylaw to authorize use of local improvement charge financing. Assuming all of that is successful in terms of timeline-wise, looking to launch this new financing offer in the fall of this year. So with that, I thank you for your time and look forward to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. First question, Councillor Kerr.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to Ian. Thanks, Ian. You kind of got to where my question's coming from, but perhaps not totally. So where's all the money coming from? So I know what you're doing to attract various grants and so forth so that you can conduct and the region can conduct what it wants to do. I'm talking about where the money's coming from FCM, from other sources. So, and I don't want to get into a political thing here, but is this carbon tax money? Like where's the money filtered down from so that FCM can have the largesse to distribute this? Is there some kind of an understanding that you can give us as to where the money's coming from?
I guess I'm on, yes. Through you, Chair, to Councillor Kerr, yes. So the money is through the FCM Community Efficiency Financing Program currently, and that was sort of endowed to FCM through, I think it was budget 2019, so several years ago, and they've been using that to lend to municipalities. So it would be a repayable loan that, once the region collects, say we were to approve $2 million, say, of lending from FCM to the region, that we would then on lend to residents. Those loans would be repaid, and we would use that to repay FCM. So it is a, revolving type of
closed
fund.
loop.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks, Mr.
You're
Chair.
welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Ian. That exhausts the list. Members of council, there's a couple other items, but you'll notice that Mayor Schumer and Councillor Jubb are not here today. Their emergency operations center is still up and running. Are they on the screen now? They had sent me a note. I just wanted to say, Mayor Schumer, to you and your council, great leadership, and I know that you're still in the thick of it, so the region's here to support you. And to our regional staff, led by Jessica Ng and all the commissioners, I want to say thank you for what you were able to do to support Brock. I want to recognize our Works Department had, under the leadership of the commissioners, sent equipment to support people in Aurelia, and our Chief of Paramedic Services was able to send people to support the city of Kawartha Lakes with some supports. So, Mayor Schumer, I will welcome your comments.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the region staff. As you mentioned, we're still a bit in the thick of things. There's a lot of cleanup still going on, and regional staff have been very supportive in various aspects of that. So I want to extend my thanks as well to yourself and everybody at the region who has been giving us a great hand on that.
Thank you. Councillor Jubb.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through you, I just want to echo what Mayor Schumer said. Yourself, Mr. Chair, the rest of the regional team. It's extremely impressive, the assistance we got, and to see the regional team machine in action. The public is extremely happy and very overwhelmed on the support that was given. So thank you to the whole regional team.
Thank you. Next is, I'd like our CAO, Elaine Baxter-Traher, to give us a verbal update on our experiences in Germany and to invite the staff that she needs to participate.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. As many of you know, and a number of you were with us, a number of us had a privilege of attending the Hanover Messe event last week in Hanover, Germany. I'm going to pass this over to Simon and Brian, who really led the whole initiative, but I have to say it was incredibly impressive to see how our regional and local economic development offices worked together to make the event a huge success, and also worked in partnership with our education institutions, the Smart Centre, and the Canadian Auto Parts Association. All in all, I think it was a tremendous success, but I don't want to steal Simon's thunder, so I will compliment the staff on the amazing work. There was well over a year in the planning, and honestly, I saw staff on their feet for 12 and 15 hours a day for 5 days straight. So they did great effort, great work, and a good response, and I will turn it over to Simon. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Chair. Yeah, we're still collecting metrics from the week last week, but all told, it's looking like it was an overwhelming success. We hit all of the targets that we had set out for ourselves, and in fact, we even surpassed some of the targets we had set for ourselves. It was a wonderful collaborative effort, as Madam CAO said, with our area municipal ECDEV leads and elected officials that joined us, as well as our college and universities and the APMA. We had dozens of meetings throughout the show with prospective investors looking to explore opportunities for investment, two-way trade, and in fact, even trade diversification between Durham's economy and industrial economies in Europe. We had well over 1,000 people visit our booth, and some notably included the Chancellor of Germany, who had an opportunity to sit in the Project Aero car, which was one of the features of the booth. We had the Canadian ambassador to the EU, our Minister of Economic Development, the CEO of Invest in Canada. That's just to name a few. We had a great seminar working session with our partner, the City of Nuremberg, and the Nuremberg Chamber of Commerce. And we strengthened a lot of great relationships with senior government agencies. These would be the agencies that are responsible for helping local businesses in Canada diversify their trade into European markets, or to promote Canada on the world stage and try and attract new investments. It really was a great opportunity and a great collaborative effort and a great team effort to put on a very successful exhibiting of Durham Region and its strengths at the show. I mentioned it to a few others that despite the heavy lift and the hard work that went into this, there is still yet a lot more hard work to do as we advance a lot of the leads that we created there and help companies through site selection and help our post-secondaries with the R&D opportunities they identified. So yet still a lot of work to happen, but a huge thank you to the teams that put in the work on the booth design, the work on logistics and meeting bookings and contracts with vendors. It was a really heavy lift. So congratulations to the team members that made it a great success. And thanks for the opportunity, Chair, to share the preliminary feedback. We'll be bringing a report in September with the full metrics, a breakdown of what we accomplished. So we look forward to bringing that to Council later.
So thank you, Simon. And I do want to recognize that Mayor Ash, Mayor Collier, Mayor Roy, and Councillor Miriam Pietri were there as well. And to our regional team and to our municipal colleagues, thank you. It is Durham's time on the world stage, and I think you did a great job in showing that. So thank you. Mayor Roy.
I think it'd be very fitting to just give commentary and just to sing the praises to Simon and to all the staff and to Commissioner Bridgman and to our CAO as well. I was so impressed, and the opportunity to be alongside our staff as we're reaching out. But as you just stated, Mr. Chair, that it's our opportunity for Durham to be on the international stage. We were on the international stage. That relationship that ended up showing between Germany and Canada and the presence of Invest Durham, our universities, and all of our partners to be there, it was a great opportunity as we connected with other agencies, other businesses as well too, and the interest in looking at our community as a whole. It was certainly present there, but it wasn't without the work of what the staff put in, because it wasn't just a short time period of putting it together. This was well over a year of the commitment. And fortunately for us, while it wasn't with the intent of knowing that the tariffs were going to be a part of it, it was a great opportunity for us to be present there. And I know that with NextGen, that to hear about the partnership and the work of Invest Durham, but also to hear from other like Invest Ontario, Invest Canada, to hear about our relationship of Durham with these agencies. It's very important to acknowledge that. And it was a great week. It was a long week, and I know the staff worked very, very hard to make the connections and to have us as part of those connections. And thank you for that opportunity to be a part of it.
Thank you. Mayor Foster.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Simon, did I hear Nuremberg that we are going to become a sister city and they are doing due diligence at Mosport and we're doing due diligence there? Sorry, I couldn't leave that alone. Madam CAO, I did want to recognize you. You speak to staff working 10, 12, 15-hour days. It is so important for the public to understand the amount of work that goes into these trips. I'm going to guess that the vast majority of your days were in windowless buildings. You got up early in the morning, and it's picking my words carefully here, where you will be criticized for going on junkets. This is a lot of exhausting work. And for the mayors and councillors that went, to recognize the amount of time and how exhausting, how much work, and how valuable the work is. Mr. Chair, your point, it's Durham time. If we are not out there, it will never be our time. So, thank you for that. And Simon, if you do want to, set that up, just let me know.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to go out of order because Councillor Miriam Pietri, you were on the trip, so I'll go to you next.
Chair, if you don't mind, I'll allow council members to speak before me. I'd just like to wrap up because there are some important things to capture. And I know that staff are being very humble in their undertaking, but there's a story to be told because I think the public deserves to understand just how impactful this entire summit was in this period in our history. So I'll wait my turn.
Okay, Councillor Wu.
Yeah, and good morning. And again, I want to echo, the trade junket, if I can say that, the CAO, Simon, and those that participated, regional, local councillors and staff. Um, But I want to expand on that, looking at we're sort of diversifying where we're looking at our trading partners and investors. And you mentioned Tampere, Finland at one of your presentations. And I would suggest that and we don't know where the Stanley Cup's going, but there's a chap that is from Tampere, Finland, Patrick Lane on the Montreal Canadiens would be an ideal person to invite here to Durham Region to promote this relationship between Durham Region and Tampere. But that might be a while, not knowing where Montreal is going. If they go to the Stanley Cup, we might have to invite them in June.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Councillor Kerr?
Thank you, Chair. I somewhat tongue-in-cheek turned to Simon and said, "Is the car back yet?" In all sincerity, my friend and colleague, Councilman Pietri, did his usual high-standard social media posts, and one of them showed this video of the vehicle and members of other countries looking exceedingly interested in it. And I wondered if you could, somebody from the team could give us an update on the perception of this vehicle and potentially what the opportunities might be to see it produced and maybe even marketed. So I'm just wondering, what's the status of the vehicle? I know you said it's still over there, but what was the level of interest and where do you see the potential for that vehicle going?
Simon?
Thanks, Chair. We actually, on Tuesday at the Hanover Messe Trade Fair, in our booth, had a very exciting announcement, which was that Ontario Tech University was selected to be the build partner for Project Aero 2.0. And Project Aero 2.0 is going to see an evolution of that car and of that project. It will integrate additional Canadian suppliers of auto tech and auto parts into the future versions. They're going to build 5 of them. And it really was received exceedingly well in Germany among the particularly automotive sector. We had a number of EVPs from Mercedes and Volkswagen come by the booth and look at the car and talk to us about Durham because it tells the story that we have everything we need in Canada to fully procure, engineer, build, and test an electric connected car. And the message was very well received in Germany.
Wonderful. That's the kind of stuff I like to hear. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And just to Mr. Bridgman, I know this is your last committee of the whole meeting, but you were there and working right to the end. And I wanted to say thank you. And if you'd like to talk about your experience.
Well, thank you, Chair. And that's right. It's the last committee of the whole meeting. I wanted to add to some of the comments that were made, the amount of work that was done in advance. It was about a year in the making. We started talking about this at about this time last year. It was a report that came forward in June seeking the funding to do this, and it was unanimously supported, and we are grateful for the council support that was provided to us. To know that we had that backing going there was an extra feeling of support that we had along the way. And the other comment I would make is just, when we talk about sweating the details, much has been said about the work that, Simon's staff has done to get us ready, but they sweat the details. And for Elaine and myself, I can say, and the councillors too, I'm sure, we just felt that we know where we needed to be and we were well prepared. And so that helped make it a success as well. So thank you.
Councillor Marin Pietri.
Chair, obviously, I think, the speakers before me very eloquently and professionally summed up the experience and the work ethic that went into it. I want to, as one of the representatives, just touch on some of the really tangible takeaways from the actual global summit, because it was a global summit. There were international medias, global leaders, and even premiers from Canada that were present and for extensive periods. And they visited not just the exhibits throughout the convention and the site and the grounds, but specifically the Region of Durham's Invest exhibit that I have to say, of all of the opportunities that I've been a part of over the last number of decades, this was not just for the period in the socioeconomic time that we're in, obviously a very important consequential one, but likely the most impactful and professionally delivered. I know that our CAO and our commissioner spoke to the work that was, put into the investment that we made, but I think we have to pay particular tribute to Simon and his team. If I were to mention Simon to any of the individuals at the Global Summit in a year or so from now, they would remember his name, and they would remember many of the names of the team members that participated in this summit because of the impact that not only the exhibit had, which was front and center in many of the media hits, but especially in the presence of a number of the major global players that are looking to invest in the American market, but be in its proximity and essentially have the stability and the predictability that we have in Durham and in Canada. I know that there were a number of other Canadian exhibitors and a number of other international exhibitors, but I have to tell you, the investment that was made by the Region of Durham is one aspect, and if you don't transform that into the kind of delivery that was performed by Simon and his team, it just becomes another event that people attend and forget about. There is no way that any of the exhibitors or the partners in the summit, in particular the leaders of industries, will ever be able to forget the kind of interaction that Simon and the team actually engaged in and delivered. Now, having said that, maybe last year would have been a different year, and we wouldn't have had the same sort of attention paid to us. Maybe next year will be a different year as well. This is, in every aspect, probably the most important period in our economic history, at least in my time, but in the last 100 years for sure. And considering Canada was the partner country, I would have to say that Invest Durham was its equal partner. Canada House, or the Canada exhibit, was directly kitty corner to our exhibit. And when people think of exhibits, they think of small booths or large plays. This Durham Invest booth or exhibit had everything. It had a conference center that many used for media. It had a tangible product that we talked about, Project Arrow, widely recognized, including the Chancellor, who jokingly we urged them to hit the Autobahn or the Nürburgring with it. And we had a great collaboration from the post-secondary institutions, who, along with our staff, were there day and night. And as Mayor Foster indicated, there are periods of the day that anyone could come in and out of an exhibit and be a part of the process, but there were very few times that I saw anyone break off from doing anything aside from engaging. And some of the meetings that were had were quite intensive, and they involved the post-secondary institutions, they involved our staff, and they involved us putting our best foot forward. And I have to say, my gratitude to colleagues at the city level, obviously, and Mayor Carter and being his representative and our CAO's representative. I know that our director took away from the experience something that I think would be transformative for not just our city, but for the entire region. So just to recap and to close the loop, the narrative that was experienced, and this is something that I think the general public will appreciate, is that large companies that are being faced with tariffs and the instability foisted onto them at the geopolitical level are looking for a friend. And this became very evident from the opening ceremonies, where the language was blunt and it was very direct, that Canada is a friend, and that our narrative was that we were within striking distance to the largest market in the world. We offered stability, and we offered a play that I think reduces the volatility that other markets have experienced in our neighbor. That essentially, that investment that the region's made as a result of this council support, because I don't believe the kind of support that was afforded for this global summit in this point in our history could have happened without the leadership, through you, Mr. Chair, and this council understanding just how serious the CEO and the commissioner were in entrusting Simon and his team to deliver, I think, what is likely the most successful exhibit and international engagement that our region's ever had. That, I believe, will translate into jobs, into opportunity, into the region of Durham being the gateway to the United States of America's market, with stability and with the kind of expected friendship that business partners and nations have. On that basis, I want to congratulate through you that team. And if I were to mention names, I would be remiss in missing someone, but each and every single person on that in that global summit representing the region did something that I believe any Fortune 500 company would regard as being not just becoming, but vital to their own companies. And I'm sure that many of the companies that were there were looking at some of the rock stars that we have performing the corporate facing work at the region and wishing that they were on their team. So my congratulations through you to them, and especially to those who call the Durham region home, because it is our time.
Thank you. Members of council, is there anyone in the room that would like a break? We only have 2 more items left. Lunch has been ordered, so lunch will be here shortly. So, okay, we'll keep moving through then. We'll move to correspondence. Item 6.1, memorandum from the Durham Environmental and Climate Advisory Committee, Durham Greener Homes Program Update and Enhancements. The recommendation is referred to consideration of report 2025 Cal 17, moved by Mayor Foster, seconded by Mayor Roy. On the recommendation, call the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, that carries. Item number 7 is the report, 2025 Cal 17. It's on page 53 of your agenda. The recommendation is there. Can I get a mover? Moved by Councillor Brenner, seconded by Mayor Foster. Members of council, the report's on the floor. Mayor Foster.
Whoever, so much, Mr. Chair. Ian, I have a whack of questions that are probably a dog's breakfast. They're all over the place on that. The LIC concept, this is new but old. Council dealt with this, regional council, a number of years ago. It was defeated. I disagreed with that strongly at the time, but is there a significant difference between this and what we dealt with? Oh gosh, I'm going to think maybe 8 years ago.
I mean, one significant difference is that we have a funding source, an external funding source in the FCM, right? So in terms of the, it is using non-regional tax dollars, but otherwise it's the same mechanism.
So in 2019, we were hoping to hit a target, without a deadline, a target of 200,000 homes. And I don't know if I'm doing an apples to apples comparison. We've had 1,400 calls. Is that the metric that we compare against the 200,000?
No. So, I mean, we have 200,000 homes is basically the entire housing stock in Durham region. So that's a long-term stretch goal along sort of the transition to a low carbon future. I think, the metric that we're tracking are, number of applicants, number of coaching calls, which is an indication of, expert support, and then the number of completed renovation projects that we're able to track.
So would you anticipate that by using the LIC, we could make far greater progress on that 200,000 than not?
Yes.
So getting further in, A number of years ago, Durham Region worked with the municipality of Clarington, a creature called Priority Green, where we looked at off the shelf. I don't know if you recall that. That was a while back. We took off the shelf efficiency products and quantified those products. So there were a couple of developers that built, I'll call it the Tiger Lily house, just the way they normally built it, and then they built the Tiger Lily house with these efficiencies, and we measured the efficiencies so you could quantify them. The quantification of some of them showed them to be utter nonsense. People were buying things looking for returns that didn't exist. Have we done anything with that? And where I'm going is you speak to satisfaction rate, how my house compares with somebody else's house. Do we have quantifiable steps that we can take to show real savings versus some of the snake oil that is out there for sure?
Sure. So you refer to the Priority Green program. That's, is focused on new construction. Of course, this program is focused on existing homes, home energy retrofits. And we do have the EnerGuide home energy assessment process that does both a pre-assessment with recommendations and the post-assessment. So it's through that process that we're able to validate the outcomes of reduced energy consumption, reduced greenhouse gas emissions. So this is based on a protocol that's a federal government standard, the EnerGuide standard.
Okay, and the significant positive feedback that you're getting is based on these quantifiable differences. So you're seeing the before
Yes,
and after.
that and these are ratings of the Energy Coach service. So how satisfied are they with the advice that they've received and the overall service that the Durham Greener Homes program is providing.
Okay. And the reason I'm going here is I think it's really important that we speak to the public, and show that you can spend $1 and save more than $1 over the long term. With your permission, Mr. Chair, I'm going to go back to the presentation, just put them together. You're talking about climate change. Increasingly, I think we're dealing with messaging that might dispute the requirement to reduce carbon, the impact of climate change. With the Insurance Bureau, is it possible for you to look at some long-term statistics? And I'm going to go back probably 6 or 7 years ago. There is a gentleman from the Insurance Bureau of Canada that was using numbers showing trends in terms of the billions of dollars being spent. So not unlike what you have shown here, but quantifying. And this was not a climate change guy. This was an actuary, identified himself as such. That climate change and the cost of climate change is very real. I thought that presentation was quite well done. Would it be possible to look into something like that again, to get out to the public that this is not mythical.
Mm-hmm.
This is not something that's coming in 50 years. It's with us today, and it's costing us money today.
Right. I mean, to your point about sort of increased narratives around questioning the science, that is something we are witnessing, and part of the reason why the messaging around this is around weather readiness. We're not. You can notice the word climate isn't necessarily going to appear in that, because I think regardless of your perspectives on this, on whether climate change is a real phenomenon or not, people are seeing the impacts of weather events. And so we're trying to position it in that respect. But, to your point, I mean, Insurance Bureau of Canada, this is actuarial science. They are showing a dramatic increase in insured losses over the past several decades. And projecting forward, there's significant concern around the future insurability of certain segments of the housing stock, which creates almost sort of existential challenges for homeowners unable to get mortgages, but then therefore for property values for municipalities on which the property tax base is. So there's this program, while is a first step in terms of addressing what I think are a broader set of fiscal and human human challenges as this as climate change intensifies.
So I'd leave with you your point on there are properties that can no longer be insured because of these challenges. That, again, bringing it home to individuals, literally home, their homes, showing numbers, Mr. Chair, are costs in oversizing infrastructure because of changes. These are costs of the taxpayers that we're doing. I'm going to end very quickly. So the Commissioner pointed out 33 nonprofit. I think I suggested close to 100. I made a statement that was not based on fact. You can all call me Donald for the rest of the day.
Okay.
Somewhere else with that.
Councillor Wu.
Through the chair, and it's a tough act to follow Donald. Yeah, and thank you, Ian. Mayor Foster mentioned, and I want to tie into the presentation, it said free, and I like that word free. Window well covers, downspout extenders, flood alarms, and watertight storage bins. But correct me, added on to that, that is for income eligible residents?
Yes, and it's free, low cost. We're still trying to sort out what the incentive amounts will be based on the funding parameters through that FCM local leadership for climate adaptation program. So that those, we will refine that through the development of our funding proposal, but the intent would be to focus on the income qualified, in particular, potentially, seniors aging in place or other sort of vulnerable sectors of our communities.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out if I'm a vulnerable, I'm a senior, and I'm income eligible. So you and I can talk. The other one, on that one, and we're still looking at the report 8 of 13, 4.6, home assessments and expert advice, homeowners, renters, and low-rise providers. Now, how does renters fit in there when they do not own the renting?
Right. Really good point. I mean, there may be measures that the renter, say you're renting in a basement apartment, right? There's lots of that, particularly in the lower income end. There could be some advice around, raising valuables off the ground in the case of, a flooding event to minimize the property loss. There might be other measures that the renter could then take to the landowner and suggest that that might be a good measure for them to flood-proof their property.
Right.
So there might be a number of different things in that regard that the renter may be able to do on a DIY basis, and others that they might need to do in partnership with the landowner.
Okay. And my last question, again, on that report 3.9, and when we're looking at putting the loan repayment on the property tax bill, and it's on the property, not the person, so that can extend to the new owner if they sell. So that helps mitigate our load loss. Is that correct?
Sorry, can you repeat that? Helps mitigate our
loan loss.
Loan loss. Yes, exactly. And the experience in other programs is been almost universally at time of sale, the current owner pays out the loan and it doesn't transfer because of, as you might know, whenever there's a lien on the property, it scares sellers away, right? And so practically speaking, I would imagine that in almost all cases that loan would be repaid at time of sale.
Okay, great. Great job. Thank you, Ian.
Okay. So members of council, that exhausts questions. So on the item, I will call the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none, there are no motions. Mr. Clerk, no confidential matters. The business of the day would be adjournment. Moved by Councillor Kerr, seconded by Councillor Pickles. On adjournment, we'll call the vote. All those in favor? In opposition? Seeing none. And just before we go, Councillor Crawford, I saw on social media yesterday that it was your birthday, so happy belated birthday. Members of council, Mr. Clerk, we are adjourned.